My dear students and viewers, I am Puranjay Biswas, Professor and Chairman, Department of English, Dhaka College, affiliated with the University of Dhaka. I welcome you to my today's lecture on Aristotle's Poetics. My particular topic today is tragedy. But before going to tragedy, I want to discuss the origin of dramatic art that flourished in ancient Greece. My dear students, dramatic art originated from the home of Dept. Now, what is Dept? Dept is a kind of hymn or devotional song which was sung by the Greek people in honor of god Dionysus. Who was Dionysus? Dionysus was a Greek god of wine, fertility, vegetation, pleasure, sexuality, and so on. And the song that was sung in honor of Dionysus during the religious festival was the origin of either tragedy, comedy, or satyr play. And who was the pioneer of Dept? The name that comes to us first is Arion. Now, who was Arion? Arion was a Dionysiac poet of Greece who is called the inventor of the prayer song Dept. And it is Arion's contribution that brought about an innovation to the birth of Greek drama. That is, Arion is called the first man to turn the Dept into a literary composition. In the earliest form of Dept, it was just a song and it was narrative. And it is Arion who gave this literary composition of narrative art to Dept. Arion is also called the first originator of Greek classical tragedy. He also added 50 people to the chorus. In fact, Arion is called the father of Greek Dept, from which all dramatic arts have come to the present position. My dear students, according to Aristotle, three types of plays, tragedy, comedy, and satyr play, flourished from Dept, the devotional song sung in honor of god Dionysus. And in the ancient time, these three forms of drama developed: tragedy, comedy, and satyr play. Satyr play is a kind of tragicomedy written on the theme of Greek mythology, and it is full of laughter, humor, pranks, gags, even phallus pops related to fertility. Now, our concern is Aristotle's Poetics, which deals with the origin, classification, nature and function of tragedy, comedy and epic. My dear students, now I want to tell you about the origin of drama. So far I have discussed the theorem. Now let us go to drama. My dear students, modern English word drama has derived from a Greek word that is dram, which means to do, that is to do something. Now, what drama really means? Drama is a literary genre written to be performed on stage by the actors and seen by the audience. And there are three kinds of plays: tragedy, comedy and satire. Now let me focus on tragedy. What is the origin of tragedy? The English word tragedy has come from a Greek origin, that is tragedia. And tragedia is the combination of two Greek words. First of all, tragos, which means goat in Greek language. And another word is ode, that is ode, which means a kind of song. So, tragos and odia combinedly mean goat song, particularly goat song with some sorrow or sad tone. Now, how goat is related, or goat song is related to Greek tragedy? That is another history. In the ancient time, the Greek people used to sing a song around the altar of god Dionysus in honor of the god. They used to sacrifice goats, put on dress like goat, and they sang the song of sacrifice in honor of god Dionysus. And from this song sung by the chorus finally developed as tragedy. My dear students, for example, we can mention Oedipus Rex of Sophocles. This is the one of the best examples of ancient Greek tragedies. Now come to comedy. What is comedy? According to a general definition, comedy is a kind of play with happy ending. On the other hand, tragedy is a kind of play with sad and unhappy ending. Now, where from the word comedy has derived? Again, this word has come from a Greek word komedia. And komedia is the combination of two Greek words. First, komos, which means rebel, and then ode, which means singing. So, comedy is a kind of happy song sung in honor of god Dionysus in the religious festival. For example, Aristophanes. Most of the plays are called comedy. The Wasp is one of them. My dear students, as I have mentioned that all dramatic arts have flourished and come to the present condition through a long process of development and modification. Now, when did tragedy flourish in ancient Greece? During the 6th century BC, tragedy came into practice. And I want to mention that in ancient Greece, there was a drama contest, tragedy contest that took place during the 6th century in the city of Athens. And this drama contest or tragedy contest is called Dionysia. Dionysia was held each year in spring, especially in the month of April. And there was Dionysia theatre. And this theatre was very famous. According to the rule, the tragedians were allowed to present 3 tragedies for the performance in this drama contest. And after the performance of 3 tragedies, a satyr play was allowed to be staged. And there was the judgment of this competition. And the playwright who became champion was awarded with honor. My dear students, in this regard, I want to mention the name of Thespis, who is called the founder of ancient Greek tragedy. Thespis is the man who first introduced first actor in Greek tragedy. Before Thespis, tragedy was in the form of choral song. But it is Thespis first who added a leading first character. And in modern times, an actor or actress is called Thespian after the name of Thespis, and this is called in order to show honor to Thespis. And Thespis also used mask in tragedy. So Thespis is very much important in the history of Greek tragedy. And another person who is Phrynichus, the people of Thespis. This very man added female character in tragedy. Before Phrynichus, there was no female character in drama. He added female character, female mask in tragedy. And it is Phrynichus who is the winner of first prize in Dionysia contest. So the contribution of both Thespis and his student Phrynichus is very great in the development of Greek tragedy. My dear students, now I want to focus on the great Greek classical tragedians. My dear students, there were three great Greek tragedians who founded the strong base of Greek tragedies. First of all, Aeschylus. Aeschylus is called the true founder of Greek classical tragedy. And he contributed a lot to the development of tragedy. For example, he founded Greek tragedy first. He added a second character. Thespis added the first character, and Aeschylus added a second character. Next, he wrote trilogies on unified themes. In Dionysia, that is in the drama contest, usually 3 plays of a tragedian were allowed to present for performance. And Aeschylus wrote trilogies on unified themes. He wrote almost 79 plays, but today only 7 plays survive. For example, the Persians, suppliants, Prometheus bound, 7 against Thebes, Trilogy Orestia, Agamemnon, Choephory, the Eumenides. All these are the major works of Aeschylus. Then the second Greek tragedian is Sophocles. He also contributed greatly to the flourishment of tragedy. He added a third character. While Aeschylus added second character, Sophocles increased the number of characters, that is third character. Moreover, he reduced chorus size, that is 15 people. From 50 people, gradually the number of chorus decreased. And it is Sophocles who reduced the number of chorus to 15 people. Another important contribution of Sophocles is that he introduced painted scenery. Painted scenery was used by Sophocles behind the screen. Then he made each play of trilogy separate in nature. Aeschylus wrote tragedies on unified themes, whereas Sophocles made each play of trilogy separate in nature. And this is another innovation of Sophocles. And the third tragedian is Euripides. He also brought about many changes in Greek tragedy. First of all, he introduced Deus ex machina. Secondly, he used female protagonist. Thirdly, he emphasized on realism and inner conflict. This is important because Euripides is more moralistic and more realistic. So, in his characters, we find inner conflict, psychological crisis that we find in modern tragedies. He also reduced the role of chorus. Not only that, he turned prologue into monologue. So all these are the innovative works of Euripides. Aeschylus is highly moralistic, but Euripides is modernistic. Sophocles wrote some great plays, almost about 130 plays, and only 7 survive. His major works, Ajax, Electra, Philoctetes, Theban trilogy, that is Oedipus Rex, Antigone, and Oedipus at Colonus. And what are the major works of Euripides? Euripides wrote about 92 plays, but only 18 survive. And what are his major plays? Medea, Hippolytus, Hecuba, Andromache, Iphigenia, Helen, Heracles, etc. All these are the works of Euripides. My dear students, if Aeschylus is the founder of Greek tragedy, Sophocles polished Greek tragedy with his artistic skill. And finally, Euripides used realism in tragedies. And these 3 tragedians are called the main pillars of ancient Greek classical tragedies. My dear students, our main concern is Aristotle's Poetics. In my previous class, I discussed imitation. concept of Socrates, Plato and Aristotle about imitation, its nature, its classification and function. And today I have discussed the development and growth of drama, particularly tragedy, comedy and satire play. In my next class, I want to discuss Aristotle's concept of tragedy, and that is very much important in poetics. My dear students, let me close my lecture today. Stay home, stay safe and blessed, and you must study.